My name is Aileen Lambert, and I am, I suppose, primarily a traditional singer. I come from a visual arts background, and over the years I've been involved in numerous sorts of participatory arts projects of a wide variety. At the moment, and what I'm going to show you today, is very much a focus on traditional song in community contexts. I was thinking of the title of a Lucy Lippard book, actually, The Lure of the Local. Very much when it comes to traditional song, it can be very handy to have the little hook of the local song and songs of place. While I am involved in lots of national song projects, like myself and my partner Mick Fortune, who'll be talking later on, and whom will come up in this talk as well, because there's a certain amount of overlap in what we do. We're involved in projects supported by the Arts Council in association with the National Library. We've done a number of song composition, research composition and performance projects with traditional singers from all over the country in recent years, like we did the Birdsong project a few years back, which was a themed song project. Songs that mention are about birds, and it was for Bealtaine for the month of May. Many of those songs mention the month of May, actually, one morning in May. Also, projects such as the 1916 song project was the most recent one we did the year before last, where we composed new songs relating to 1916, because there hadn't actually been many written at the time, because I suppose events followed on so quickly with the Civil War and whatnot after the Rising. So we created a new body of traditional song for that. And also, just to mention, the current one we're doing is called Songs for Our Children. Nice contrast in the theme from the last one, because we're writing all sorts of lovely little ballads and often nonsense songs, the idea being that they're songs for very small children up to, young people, songs again in the traditional style. So what I'm talking about here, when I'm talking about song and songs of place, just to point out that it is very much traditional, unaccompanied singing in that style. It's everything I'm talking about actually today is English language as well. So it's coming from that tradition. So I'm going to start by, opening a page here, because this is kind of somebody else's song from, there's a couple of people sing this song down in Wexford. So, let me see. From Humphrey Curran's the boys came all strolling, with scoots of moustaches not long started budding. With fanciful pipes they had briar, clay and wooden, saying, "We're the bowled nigglers from Ballyvaloo." So the Bowled Nigglers from Ballyvaloo is the title of this song, which straight away takes some explaining. Ballyvaloo, it's fairly straightforward. It's a village a couple of miles south of the village of, it's a Townsend, a couple of miles south of the village of Blackwater in County Wexford. And niggler isn't really a term we use a whole lot, I suppose. It comes from the term, which you've been more familiar with, to niggle. So seemingly a niggler is a bit of a bio, somebody who's up for a little bit of a divilment. And this particular song relates an outing that a load of lads from Coraclow, an outing they had from Ballyvaloo into Blackwater. The photos I'm showing you are from an event which was organised by a singer that we'd have a lot of encounters with on projects and such things in Wexford, Senan Lillis. So he organised, inspired by this song, this was about 5 years ago, he organised this event which kind of took the route that the nigglers would have taken, which wasn't possible because actually it would have been inland and it's changed very much, but we took the road. So as you can see, some of the locals, the first image actually was Humphrey Curran's, which is mentioned in the song. That house there, the last Humphrey Curran died in the 1950s, but Senan's research led him to discover, by dating some of the other characters here, because there's an RIC man, and so in the records he was able to find when he was in Blackwater. The song goes back to about the 1840s. So as you can see, some of the locals really took up the spirit of the whole song and donned the moustaches and Wexford colours and all the rest. It started with a bus trip from the village where we gathered. As you can see, a fairly intergenerational kind of a group headed out and strolled along back to Blackwater with verses of the songs imparted by the various singers along the way. This was Senan himself here. Arriving into Blackwater then, and Paddy Berry here, a well-known traditional singer in Wexford, and Paul Tobin as well. Paul sang the second last verse because that's what the second last verse, it's about arriving here on the bridge in Blackwater. And Paddy finished it up. This is a more recent image of me at home, as you can see with the video camera up, recording Senan singing the song. And this was part of a song called the Kilmacthomas Song Project. This is Kilmacthomas. This map is actually from a project that Mick, as I said, who I told you I'd be mentioning him, and he'll be talking later. But this is a project he did the year previous with the Tidy Towns in Kilmacthomas. And this was called About This Place. So I just thought I'd show you that to give you an idea of where it's at. It's Kilmacthomas on the coast of Wexford. And as you can see, there's lots of places of interest, as you can see by all those little red dots. They're not sold houses or anything. And a lot of the songs then that we discovered, I started by putting a call out locally through Facebook and local paper and all the rest to see could we gather some people to look at traditional songs from the area and see what we might gather up and maybe pass on to people. You know, this kind of project, while you have to write a proposal at funding stage, you're leaving it pretty open and really going with what the kind of interest or the resources or what, you know, whatever you find when you land. Now, I did have to admit, I did kind of hit the ground running here because I knew a good number of these people for a start, and that man in the middle, John Furlong, is a traditional singer and musician who is a songwriter, song collector, and a pure gentleman and a quiet soul, really. So it was great to have him involved in the project. This is the kind of thing you can see from the first meeting. I had a list of songs, you know, people were saying, oh, there's this and there's that, and there's a song about, you know, and I was frantically writing, knowing that some of them are quite well-known ones, like the Nigglers from Ballyvaloo, which is known and sung locally, and the words have already been printed in songbooks. But others, like this one, for example, The Hills of Christnastow, somebody had an old newspaper clipping, and from that we typed up the words. It was a recitation. There was no known air for it, actually. So what we ended up doing, which I hadn't really thought about or anticipated at all, was creating new songs in a way, because it hadn't been sung. It existed as a recitation and wasn't well known. There's a couple of song airs scribbled in my handwriting there, suggestions that came up when we sat around the table. And what happened was one of the singers, Rachel, was singing it around at home. She had the words stuck up on the wall and she was singing it. And then I had asked would she take it on as her song and that I'd record her as I had recorded Senan, because this is very much about generating material, creating material, recording what's there, but circulating it again, you know. So I had in mind to use Facebook and DVD or whatever might be appropriate. But Rachel came into us one evening with a little recording on her phone, and it was her daughter who's beside her singing the song. And she's got a gorgeous sweet voice, and it's a long song, it's quite a complex air, and she has no problem with it. So I recorded her and she's on the DVD singing it. Then there were other known singers of songs, like Mick here sings The Gory Caravan, which is a lovely song, and he had never really been recorded. So you know, when you go into a project like this, you're looking out for the kind of opportunities there are to maybe capture that, you know, that young girl Era singing the song she's learned from her mother. So I hopped on that opportunity. Also used it to make sure we had Mick's version of The Gory Caravan recorded. That's The Gory Caravan. Here's John Furlong again. John and Maeve, that's his niece. The Tinnaberna Fishermen is a song that I'm going to just play a little, just talking about those videos.
On the 14th day of November in 1815, we launched our boat the squall. Our boats being small, well rigged withal, were unable for to sail. The time looks bad, so in the name of God, on our friends we must turn tail.
On the 14th day of November in 18 and 15, so that's the opening line. Like many ballads, you know, they were recording very much the event, and this was a tragic event called the Tinnaberna Fisher. The song is called the Tinnaberna Fishermen. But I'm just going to skip into, let me see. Yeah, great, I can see, because I want to come ahead. I have edited along with it another performance, which I'd like you to hear, just really the first line as well, because we're not going to have time for whole songs today. Let me see.
This is marking history to its best, and the Kavanagh brothers and Michael, it's a wonderful occasion to do this. And when you look out at the sea here now, it's easy to visualise what happened on the 14th day of November in 18 and 15. We launched our boats and put to sea.
Right, I just wanted to show you that just for the different contexts. I know it's a poor recording done on the phone and stuff. But that was John Furlong on the 200th anniversary of the disaster, singing the song at the place, at the unveiling of a memorial that was done as part of the project. When I showed you the map, that was the project Mick was involved in. But what I love about this is John, he actually bursts into song. He's actually speaking and he's saying what happened was out here on the 14th day. It's so natural to him. He actually goes from speaking to singing. And I think this is just a lovely example of a really powerful performance, because it brings together so many things. The people who've been out for a walk and a ramble that day, along with the singing, the really good, fine singing of a really great song, and then the anniversary as well, you know. So let me see, what kind of time am I doing, folks? 2 minutes left. That's terrible. I'd already cut out loads of it. Okay, I'm going to select, so wait till we see. I think what I'll do is I'll fly through the images. The other videos I had, some of them were similar examples of singing, of performing a song on the place. So let me see, I'll get the files up again. The images, I don't know, is it that one? Yes, it is. So there's the Tinnaberna song, which actually John had revised from an older version that was in the book, but the new one is in this, which is the collection of songs on the CD. Oh, cool. So it features all sorts of local heroes. This was the Tun team, a tug-of-war team. There's songs about local heroes, songs of the sea, local heroes, local place, comedy songs. As you'd expect, I suppose, in the tradition, there is that great variety of songs. That was at the launch. This is Bunclody, where I was yesterday. I found in this book a song called Bunclody on Fair Day. And it's a song which I came to realise when I visited Bunclody and started talking to people about songs. Of course, everybody knows the streams of Bunclody, but there's lots of other songs about Bunclody. This would be one of them, Bunclody on Fair Day, that's not at all well known, but now it will be, because I've been singing it with the young people in the school there. And this is part of the Heritage in School scheme, which is, of course, is supported by the Heritage Council. And here actually what's on the board and what this girl has, they're actually writing a letter to the writer of the song, because he's still alive. He moved to Bunclody in the 60s from Dublin, and he wrote about the people and the events and that at the time in the song. So that's another example of work that I do. I suppose for me, really, it's all about joining dots. and linking in with different communities where you can and when you can, which was the case here as well. This is a project where Mick recorded singers along the Waterford Greenway singing Waterford songs. At the same time, I was being invited into Kilmacthomas School under the Heritage in School scheme. So I introduced them to a song called The Kilmacthomas Girl. And I think I'll finish on this because I'm going to finish on a little bit of video of it. I did songs with all ages and we had a little performance at the end of it. But we joined the event, the launch of the DVD, with the performance that the kids did. So I think I'll just play a little bit of that video.
I have met some pretty colleens in the rambles here and there. Are a tall ones and small ones, you'll find them everywhere. But of all the pretty girls I've met, from the Cumras to the sea, sure the Kilmacthomas girl is the one that pleases me. For she is as fine a girl as you could wish to see. I'd marry her this minute if she only would agree. How I wish that I could coax her down to Cameroon with me. For the Kilmacthomas girl is the best of quality.
That'll do. And can I just finish by saying I've started a column called Songs of Wexford in the local newspaper, and I've linked it with a Facebook page of that name. So if anybody wants to look up, there's more there. Songs of Wexford on Facebook or my name, and you'll get it there, where I'm using both Facebook and the local newspaper, two very prominent forms of circulation, to both put out information that I have and lyrics that I have, but also to gather more as well, because via comments, and please send your song words into the local, to me from the column. Like I say, it's all about not just recording or archiving, but generating new material and circulating it as well, getting it all back out there. It's ours, it's all ours. So thank you very much. Thanks.